Welcome to my first video at Amanda vs. Art. Amanda vs. Art is my personal journey to take on new challenges to become a better artist. I've always loved art as a kid. I had dreams of having an art career, but of course sometimes life gets in the way. I've had a good corporate career for a long time. I'm in my midlife now, my mid-40s, and I'm really looking to reignite my creativity and really take my skills to the next level. And so I really hope that you all will resonate with that journey, that you'll follow along with me, and I really hope you enjoy my first video. A little bit about me before we get into what in the world I'm doing here is that I'm a former art school dropout, and when I say former, I mean about 25 years ago. There will definitely be a story time about all of that. At one point I thought very seriously about becoming an art teacher, but I gave up on that dream too easily due to fear and a steady paycheck. For the last 13 years I've had a steady 9-to-5 corporate job, which as we know these days is not so steady, and I would paint and draw mostly as a hobby, without too much focus on growth. Flash forward to today, where I'm trying to make art a regular practice again in the hopes that I can improve my art, find my style, and make collections that I feel proud of, and that other people will love too. The first step out of my comfort zone here is that I watched no tutorials prior to starting this piece. I would say the majority of time when I'm painting, I'm following another watercolor artist tutorial or looking up a technique. I'm starting the phase where I definitely still feel value from following tutorials, but I also want to try and see if I can apply the techniques on my own. The subjects that I enjoy most are flowers and landscapes, and so I was very drawn to make a painting of some cherry blossoms I photographed at the Japanese Friendship Garden at Balboa Park. I have so many lovely photos from that place that I'd like to capture with watercolor or gouache someday. You can see here that my initial plan for this first painting was to use masking fluid to keep the cherry blossoms white while I painted a loose background. And I definitely mean loose here. I was just playing around and starting with light washes and layering. In theory, it sounds good, right? If you're familiar with watercolor or masking fluid, I've probably already given a fair bit of you some anxiety from the use of water to smashing my brush around, and especially that pooling you start to see on the masking fluid. But don't click away yet, it does get better. But I carry on, feeling very proud of my loose strokes and the way the colors on the paper are blending, until it dries. You can see here that I'm starting to take off the masking fluid at this point. I know what you all are thinking right now, but shockingly I did not rip this paper. That's the least of my problems anyway at this point. The areas where I just make random dots in the background for the fuzzy background of the photo really were way too sharp for me. And even though I tried filling it in with color, I really started to feel at this point I had made some terrible choices. One habit of mine is that I either don't push myself far enough past the ugly phase to see what a painting can become, or I overwork it to the point that my paper is begging for its life. In this case, I really wanted to keep going with the flowers and push myself to see this through to the end, but after some poor color choices, I decided to let this one go and start over. For this try, I decided to let go of the masking fluid approach because while I want to be a masking fluid girly, I just don't know if I am. But don't worry, I haven't given up on masking fluid entirely. I learned a lot from doing that, but I also learned that this application wasn't an approach that gave me the look that I wanted. I also wanted to challenge myself to leave lighter spaces on the flowers and build up the contrast, as filling in my paper is also something I really struggle with. So here you can see I'm doing an initial sketch and being a lot more intentional about capturing all the flower petals and the sepal, which I found a bit more challenging. There's even a little bee in one of the flowers that I wanted to have stand out a bit as well. Sketching for me isn't really my favorite part of painting, but I've realized in order to get really good at it, it's time to revisit the fundamentals, so I'll definitely be exploring that for future compositions. In this case, I'm pretty happy that the composition and the proportions are solid. Pure dumb luck on my part, honestly. For the sketch, I'm using Arteza Expert watercolor pencils, as I do find in some instances they are good for reducing the amount of sketch marks you see as compared to the pencil, but you'll see these didn't all really blend out in the way that I had hoped for. For the first wash, I used just water to blend out the red pencil lines in order to get a really soft pink wash, which you may be able to see, but I have learned to start pretty light at the beginning and continue to build and build until I'm happy with the contrast. As I'm building up the pencil lines, I notice that the edges are quite dark and I feel unsure that I'll like the look of that, but I continue on. I'm determined this time to consistently work at it until I'm happy with it. I start to add some shadows to the petals of the cherry blossom. I really like the soft purple of the shadows, so I definitely leaned into that. Maybe too hard? Only the internet can say. For the background, I really liked the softness of the first pass, and I definitely didn't want a lot of definition so that I could concentrate on pushing the main stems of the cherry blossoms to the foreground. You can see in the photo that the background is quite blurry. I know that there are a lot of dark tones mixed in with the pink cherry blossoms in the back, but instead of trying to replicate that and make my background muddy by mixing the red and the green, I just decided to keep those areas separate from each other and emphasize the pink on the bottom. So maybe I've learned a thing or two from past mistakes. At this point, it's obviously too light, so I start to go in and continue to add a second layer to the background. In the middle areas where the flowers are, I really struggled here with making sure there was enough contrast between the background and the foreground. So I kept layering and layering and layering. I've already stopped stressing about how much it looks like the reference photo when I did the background, so that was pretty freeing to just do what I wanted in regard to that. There is a point here where the paper really is starting to warp a bit, as I tend to use a lot of water. But since I'm not putting this in the Smithsonian, I'm perfectly content with my 2-for-1 Arteza paper, which I probably bought like 4 Christmases ago. I may try this study again on a hot press or cold press 100% cotton paper and see the differences though. I'm really encouraging myself to try the same study multiple ways in order to really understand what I like and to refine my overall style. Eventually, you will see that I finally get the contrast on the background and the petals to a level that I'm fine with. The one thing I didn't love here is the watercolor pencil being pretty prominent still. I stared at this for a long time, and thought about doing loose pen outlines, but settled on taking that purple shadow color and making dark outlines with that. Pay no attention to the bee, I will sort that later. Honestly, I'm not sure where I got the toxic mentality that outlining your paintings was in some way cheating or trying to make up for bad work, but we don't do that kind of self-talk in 2025, so I'm going for it. For the final touches of this painting, I decided to add a little shine to it. I do love metallic, pearlescent, or glittery paints, and so I do tend to add them pretty often. In this case, I took a metallic black that I had from Michaels and some Arteza pearlescent acrylics to do some final touches to the flower, and especially to fix the bee, which looked more like a fly at this point, despite my attempts to resurrect him. In the end, I'm really glad I didn't give up on this one. I tried something I wasn't skilled at, and though it didn't work out this time, I learned a lot about the medium, didn't give up, and took what I learned to create an even better piece. I want to thank you so much for watching my very first YouTube video. I really enjoyed making it, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of my growth as an artist in my midlife who is reigniting their passion for creativity. In my years of experience so far, I've discovered that good things can come from pushing yourself past your comfort zone, and I hope this has inspired you to take that chance. I'd love for you to leave a comment of a time where you gave yourself a second chance at art so we can grow a community and support each other. And with that, I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video.